I came home from work on a regular Wednesday evening expecting to find my wife Audrey cooking dinner and our 5-year-old daughter Lily playing with her dolls. Instead, I walked into silence. The house felt hollow. Lily sat on the sofa staring at the television with confused eyes. The closet door in our bedroom stood wide open, hangers scattered across the floor. Some of Audrey's clothes were gone. Her travel bag was missing. No note, no text message, no explanation. Just emptiness. When I asked Lily where Mommy went, she looked up at me with those innocent eyes and said, "Mommy said she had to go somewhere." I tried calling. Straight to voicemail, I sent text after text, nothing. My heart pounded in my chest as I realized something was terribly wrong. I had no idea that what I was about to discover would turn everything I thought I knew upside down. Before I dive into what happened next, I want to ask you something. Where are you watching this from? Drop your location in the comments. And if you have ever felt that sinking feeling when someone you love just vanishes without explanation, hit that like button and subscribe. Because what I found out in the days that followed will show you that sometimes the truth is buried deeper than you could ever imagine. Let me take you back to before everything fell apart. Audrey and I had been married for 7 years. We met through mutual friends at a coffee shop in Denver. She was a kindergarten teacher passionate about education and kids. I worked as a software engineer at a mid-sized tech company downtown. Our life was simple but good. Every morning, we would have breakfast together while Lily showed us her latest crayon masterpiece. Audrey would drop Lily off at school, then head to her own classroom. I would come home around 6 and she would already be preparing dinner. Friday nights were special. Audrey loved making lasagna from scratch, layering the pasta and cheese with such care. Lily would help by sprinkling Parmesan on top her little hands covered in flour. Those moments felt perfect. We were not wealthy, but we had each other. That was enough. Or so I thought. Looking back now, I can see the signs that something was wrong. About 2 weeks before Audrey disappeared, things started to shift. Her phone rang constantly. She would glance at the screen, then step out onto the balcony to take the call. I could see her through the glass door pacing back and forth, her voice low and tense. When I asked who kept calling, she brushed it off. "Just some family stuff," she said with a weak smile. But she never elaborated. Audrey had always been private about her family. I knew her mother Dorothy lived in Texas, and that her father had passed away when she was young. She rarely talked about them, and I never pushed. Maybe I should have. The distance between us grew. She would sit at the dinner table, staring at her plate, lost in thought. At night, she would lie awake, staring at the ceiling. One evening, I woke up around 2 in the morning and noticed she was not in bed. I found her in the bathroom, sitting on the edge of the tub, crying softly. When I asked what was wrong, she wiped her tears quickly and forced a smile. "I am fine, just stressed about work," she said. "You know how it is at the end of the school year." I believed her. I wanted to believe her. I wrapped my arms around her and told her everything would be okay. But deep down, I think I knew something more was happening. I just did not want to face it. The morning she left, everything seemed normal at first. Audrey woke up earlier than usual and made pancakes for Lily. She even brewed my favorite coffee and set it on the counter with a little smiley face drawn on the cup in marker. She kissed me before I left for work. But that kiss felt different. It lingered longer than usual, like she was trying to memorize the moment. I remember walking out the door and glancing back. She stood in the doorway watching me with an expression I could not quite read. Sadness, maybe, or regret. I shook it off and headed to the office. When I returned home that evening, my world shattered. Lily was sitting on the couch, her favorite stuffed bunny clutched in her arms. The television was on, but she was not really watching it. I called out for Audrey. No answer. I walked into our bedroom and saw the closet doors flung open. Several outfits were missing. Her suitcase was gone. Toiletries from the bathroom had vanished. My chest tightened. I grabbed my phone and dialed her number. It rang and rang, then went to voicemail. I tried again. Same result. I sent a text, "Where are you? Please call me." Then another, "Are you okay?" And another, "Lily is asking for you." Nothing. I knelt down next to Lily and tried to keep my voice steady. "Hey, sweetheart, did Mommy say anything to you before she left?" Lily nodded slowly. She said she had to help someone and would be back soon. I forced a smile and told her everything was fine, even though panic was clawing at my insides. That night I could not sleep. I kept checking my phone, hoping for a message, a call, anything. But the screen stayed dark. The first 3 days after Audrey vanished were the longest of my life. I barely slept. Every time my phone buzzed, I lunged for it only to find it was just a work email or a spam notification. I sent dozens of messages. "Please, just let me know you are safe. Whatever is going on, we can work through it. I love you." Silence. It was like screaming into a void. On the second morning, I called Audrey's mother, Dorothy. We had never been close. She lived in Amarillo, Texas, and had only visited us once since Lily was born. The phone rang twice before she picked up. Her voice was cold. "Hello, Myron." I did not waste time with pleasantries. "Dorothy, have you heard from Audrey?" She left without saying anything, and I am worried sick. There was a long pause. Then she said, "She is dealing with some things. Give her space." My frustration boiled over. Give her space. She is my wife. Our daughter is asking where her mother is. I deserve to know what is going on. Dorothy sighed, a sound filled with irritation rather than sympathy. "This is a family matter. You would not understand." Then she hung up. I stared at my phone, stunned. What did that even mean? I tried calling Audrey's best friend, Jenna. She picked up on the first ring. "Myron, hey, what is up?" I explained the situation, my voice shaking. Jenna was silent for a moment, then said, "Oh my God, I had no idea. She has not called me either. This is not like her." At least, Jenna seemed genuinely concerned. She promised to reach out to some mutual friends and see if anyone had heard anything. But by the end of the day, she called back with nothing. I had to take time off work to stay home with Lily. I could not focus on anything else. Every morning, I would make her breakfast and try to act like everything was normal. But she knew something was wrong. Kids always do. "When is Mommy coming home?" she asked one evening while I tucked her into bed. I brushed the hair out of her face and said, "Soon, baby, soon." But I did not know if that was true. On the fourth day, desperation drove me to search for answers myself. Audrey had left her old laptop at home. She mostly used her tablet now, but I remembered she kept old files and emails on the laptop. I felt guilty snooping through her things, but I needed to understand what was happening. I opened the laptop and started going through her emails. Most of it was routine. Messages from other teachers, newsletters, online shopping receipts. But then I found something that made my blood run cold. It was an email from a lawyer named Benjamin Ford. The subject line read, "Re-estate, settlement, and your late father's will." I clicked it open. The email was dated 3 weeks ago. It mentioned a meeting in Amarillo to discuss the distribution of her father's assets. There was a reference to significant inheritance and complex stipulations. My mind raced. Audrey had told me her father died when she was a child. She never mentioned anything about an inheritance. Why would she keep this from me? I dug deeper into her email history and found more correspondence with the same lawyer. Phrases jumped out at me: conditional terms, family dispute, time-sensitive decision. My hands trembled as I read. Whatever this was, it was big, and it had something to do with her sudden disappearance. I needed help. I called my old college buddy Greg, who worked as a private investigator. We had stayed in touch over the years, and I trusted him. I explained the situation, and he agreed to look into it. "Give me a couple of days," he said. "I will see what I can find." 2 days felt like an eternity, but I had no choice but to wait. Greg called me back on a Saturday morning. "Myron, you need to sit down for this." I paced around the living room, unable to stay still. "Just tell me." He took a deep breath. "Audrey's father passed away 6 months ago. He left behind an estate worth over $2 million. I stopped pacing. $2 million. But there is a catch, Greg continued. According to the will, Audrey only inherits her share if she divorces you within 6 months of his death. The words hit me like a freight train. I sank onto the couch, struggling to process what he had just said. "What? Why?" Greg's voice was grim. "From what I gathered, her father never approved of you. He thought you were not good enough for his daughter, not wealthy enough, not the right social class, so he put that condition in his will. If Audrey does not divorce you, the entire estate goes to her brother Preston." I felt sick. "Her brother," Greg continued, "yeah, Preston. And here's where it gets worse. Preston has serious gambling debts. He owes money to some dangerous people. He is desperate for that inheritance. My sources tell me that he and Dorothy have been pressuring Audrey relentlessly. They have her staying at Dorothy's house in Amarillo. They have been controlling her phone, isolating her, trying to force her hand." Rage and heartbreak collided inside me. Audrey was not running away from me. She was being held captive by her own family. She was being manipulated and coerced, and she had tried to protect me from all of it by handling it alone. I could not sit still after hearing what Greg had uncovered. My wife was being controlled, isolated, and pressured into destroying our marriage for money she probably did not even want. The thought of Audrey trapped in that house dealing with this nightmare alone made my chest ache. But I was not going to let her face it by herself. Not anymore. First, I needed to understand the legal angle. I contacted a family lawyer in Denver named Patricia Wells. She had a reputation for handling complex estate disputes. I explained everything: the will, the conditions, the pressure from Dorothy and Preston. Patricia listened carefully, taking notes. When I finished, she leaned back in her chair and nodded. "This kind of coercive clause in a will can be challenged," she said. "Courts generally do not look favorably on conditions that force someone to end a marriage. It is considered undue influence. We might be able to get that clause invalidated." Hope flickered inside me. "How do we do that?" Patricia tapped her pen against her notepad. "We need evidence, documentation of the pressure being applied to Audrey. Any emails, text messages, or witness statements showing that she is being coerced. If we can prove that she is being held against her will or manipulated, we have a strong case." I thought about everything Greg had told me: the isolation, the controlled phone, the desperation in Preston's situation. "I can get that evidence," I said. Patricia nodded. "Good, but Myron, this is going to get messy. Are you prepared for that?" I did not hesitate. "I will do whatever it takes." Over the next 2 days, I worked with Greg to gather everything we could. He pulled records of Preston's gambling debts, found witnesses who could testify about his financial desperation. He even managed to get copies of some of the emails between Preston and the lawyer Benjamin Ford, discussing strategies to pressure Audrey. Meanwhile, Jenna provided text messages from Audrey over the past few weeks, showing her growing distress and mentions of family pressure. I also reached out to a local journalist in Amarillo named Theo Briggs. He specialized in stories about family disputes and estate battles. I explained the situation and offered him an exclusive if things went south. Theo was intrigued. "If this plays out the way you are describing it is a hell of a story," he said. "Let me know when you need me." With everything in place, I made a decision. I was going to Amarillo. I was going to get my wife back. I booked a flight for the next morning. Before I left, I hugged Lily tightly and told her I was going to bring Mommy home. She nodded her eyes wide and trusting. My neighbor, Mrs. Callahan, agreed to watch her while I was gone. On the plane, I could barely sit still. My mind replayed every scenario. What if they would not let me see Audrey? What if she had already signed divorce papers under pressure? What if I was too late? When I landed in Amarillo, I rented a car and drove straight to Dorothy's address. It was a large house in a quiet suburb, the kind of place that screamed old money. I parked across the street and took a deep breath. Greg had tipped off a contact in the local police department explaining the situation. They agreed to have an officer nearby in case things escalated. I texted the officer to let him know I was about to approach the house. I walked up the driveway and rang the doorbell. Footsteps echoed inside, then the door swung open. A man in his late 30s stood there, arms crossed. Preston. He looked me up and down with disdain. "You have got a lot of nerve showing up here," he said. "Get lost." I stayed calm. "I am here to see my wife. I know what you are doing. I know about the will and the pressure you have been putting on her." Preston's face darkened. "You do not know anything. This is family business. Now leave before I make you leave." He started to close the door, but I stepped forward. "I am not going anywhere until I see Audrey." Just then, a police cruiser pulled up to the curb. The officer, a middle-aged man named Officer Ramirez, stepped out and approached us. "Everything okay here?" he asked. Preston's confidence wavered. "This man is trespassing." Officer Ramirez looked at me. "Sir, do you have a legitimate reason to be here?" I nodded. "My wife is inside. I have reason to believe she is being held here against her will." Preston scoffed. "That is ridiculous." Officer Ramirez turned to him. "Then, you would not mind if we confirm that the lady in question is here voluntarily, would you?" Preston hesitated, then stepped aside. "Fine, but this is harassment." We walked inside. The house was immaculate, decorated with expensive furniture and art. Dorothy appeared from the living room, her face a mask of controlled anger. "What is the meaning of this?" she demanded. I ignored her and called out, "Audrey, Audrey, are you here?" There was silence for a moment. Then I heard footsteps on the stairs. Audrey appeared, looking exhausted and pale. Her eyes widened when she saw me. "Myron." Tears welled up in her eyes. I moved toward her, but Preston stepped between us. "Stay back," Officer Ramirez intervened. "Ma'am, are you here of your own free will?" Audrey looked at her mother, then at Preston, then at me. Her voice was barely a whisper. I do not know." That was all I needed to hear. I pulled out my phone and opened the photos Greg had sent me. "Audrey, I know everything. I know about your father's will. I know about the condition that you have to divorce me. I know Preston is in debt and needs this money. And I know they have been keeping you here, controlling your phone, pressuring you." Audrey's tears spilled over. Dorothy stepped forward, her voice sharp. "This is none of your concern, Myron. This is about family legacy." I turned to her, my voice steady but firm. "Family legacy? You are trying to destroy your daughter's marriage for money. That is not legacy. That is greed. I looked at Preston. And you. You are willing to sacrifice your sister's happiness to pay off your gambling debts. Preston's face turned red. Shut your mouth. Officer Ramirez held up a hand. Everyone calmed down. I took a step closer to Audrey. I brought a lawyer, Patricia Wells. She says we can challenge the will. That condition your father put in there is not legal. Courts do not enforce clauses that force people to end marriages. We can fight this. Together. Audrey looked at me, hope flickering in her eyes. Really? I nodded. But even if we could not, I would not care. I did not marry you for money. I married you because I love you, and no amount of money is worth losing you. Dorothy scoffed. How noble. But you are asking her to give up millions. I turned to her. I am asking her to choose her own life. And by the way, I also brought a journalist, Theo Briggs. He is waiting outside. If this does not get resolved right here, right now, this whole story goes public. The coercion, the gambling debts, the manipulation, all of it. Preston's face went pale. You would not dare. I pulled out my phone and showed him a text from Theo confirming he was parked down the street. Try me. Preston looked at Dorothy, panic in his eyes. Their plan was falling apart. Dorothy glared at me, then at Audrey. Audrey, think about what you are doing. Think about your father's wishes. Audrey wiped her tears and straightened her shoulders. When she spoke, her voice was stronger than I had heard in weeks. My father's wishes. He wanted to control me even after he died. He never accepted Myron because he was not rich. But Myron has been there for me every single day. He is a good man, a good father, and I will not let you or anyone else destroy what we have built. She walked over to me and took my hand. I choose my family. The next few days were a whirlwind. Audrey and I flew back to Denver together. On the plane, she told me everything. How the lawyer had contacted her 2 months ago about the will. How Preston had called her constantly begging her to go through with the divorce so he could get the money. How Dorothy had guilted her saying it was what her father would have wanted. Audrey had tried to handle it alone because she did not want to burden me. She thought if she could just talk them down, make them see reason she could protect our family. But the pressure had become unbearable. She felt trapped. I held her hand the entire flight. You should have told me, I said gently. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. I know, I was scared. I thought if I told you it would tear us apart. I thought I could fix it on my own. I kissed her forehead. We are a team, Audrey. We face things together. When we got home, Lily ran into her mother's arms, crying with relief. Audrey held her tight, apologizing over and over. That night, the three of us slept in the same bed, holding each other close. Patricia Wells worked quickly. Within a week, she filed a challenge to the will in Texas probate court. She argued that the divorce clause was coercive and violated public policy. She presented evidence of the pressure Preston and Dorothy had applied, including emails and witness statements. The judge agreed to review the case. A month later, we received the ruling. The court found the clause to be unenforceable. Audrey was entitled to her share of the inheritance without having to divorce me. The estate would be split evenly between Audrey and Preston, but the condition was void. Preston was furious, but there was nothing he could do. He took his half of the money and disappeared from our lives. We heard through the grapevine that he used most of it to pay off his debts. Dorothy sent a letter a few months later. It was not quite an apology, but it was an acknowledgement that she had gone too far. Audrey read it once, then put it in a drawer. She was not ready to forgive, and I did not blame her. Audrey decided to use part of her inheritance to start a scholarship fund for underprivileged kids who wanted to become teachers. It was her way of honoring the good parts of her father while rejecting the control he tried to exert over her life. She returned to teaching that fall, and I could see the light coming back into her eyes. We also started going to couples therapy. It was not easy. Trust had been damaged, and we both had to work to rebuild it. But we were committed. We loved each other, and we were not going to let this break us. One evening, about 6 months after everything had settled, Audrey and I were sitting on the back porch. Lily was inside drawing at the kitchen table. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Audrey leaned her head on my shoulder. "I am sorry I put you through all of that," she said quietly. I wrapped my arm around her. "You do not need to apologize anymore. What matters is that we are here now, together." She looked up at me, her eyes filled with gratitude and love. "I never doubted that you loved me, but seeing you fight for me for us, the way you did, it showed me what real love looks like. Not control, not conditions, just showing up, being there, fighting when it matters." I kissed the top of her head. "Always." Looking back, I realized that crisis taught me something important. Love is not just about the good times. It is about refusing to let go when things get hard. It is about standing up for each other even when the world tries to pull you apart. Money can reveal the worst in people. It can make family turn on family, but it can also show you who truly matters. Audrey could have taken the easy route. She could have divorced me, taken the money, and walked away. But she did not. She chose us. And that choice meant everything. As for Dorothy and Preston, we have not spoken to them since. Maybe one day there will be reconciliation. But for now, we are okay with the distance. Some relationships are not worth the cost they demand. And that is okay. We have built our own family, our own life on our own terms. No conditions, no strings, just love. So, if you are watching this and you have ever felt like someone you care about is slipping away, remember this. Sometimes the people who ghost you are not running away from you. They are running from something they think they have to face alone. And sometimes the greatest act of love is refusing to let them face it alone. That is what I learned when my wife disappeared. And that is what brought us back stronger than ever. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever been in a situation where family expectations clashed with what your heart wanted? How did you handle it? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already, because I share more real-life stories like this one. Share this video with someone who might need to hear it. Maybe someone going through their own struggle. Sometimes knowing you are not alone makes all the difference. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it reminded you that real love is worth fighting for. Take care of yourselves and the people you love. You never know when they might need you to show up and fight for them.